Okay. Peter, it's lovely to share with you this evening. You're the first person that's being interviewed for the summit, and it's wonderful to share this time with you. What I personally sense is your amazing piece that you have. And when I read your bio, which everybody can read, what fascinated me was that you speak about, as well as the beautiful things in nature, have a background in science as well, and the mixed match of all of that. So what I really want you to do is just explain you and tell us all about you, and you know what you are and what you do.
Okay. Would you like some historical background?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. I was raised on the slopes of Mount Taranaki, close to the forests, native forests, and by a river. And I was raised on a farm, so I got to know nature in a very direct way. It was a very simple life, and the strange thing is that despite all the changes I've been through, I now live that same simple life. Forgive me if I get a little emotional. It's the nostalgia thing catches up with me at times. So I didn't do that intentionally. It just happened as if I needed to. I call them my guides, guided me to a certain way of living that suited my beliefs. And I think that we all do that eventually. And our beliefs, as I've discovered, are essential to living a balanced life, a life that can give you joy, can make you feel emotions in certain situations, and participate in a community in a way that complements that community and also goes with your own feelings and beliefs. So I live now virtually on a beach, on a Taranaki beach, black sand beach.
In New Zealand.
Yeah, where the storms come in from the west, from the Tasman Sea, and batter this old barn that I live in. And it's a very earthbound life, yes, which is good because I spend a lot of time in other dimensions. So I need this grounding. I think, yeah, I had a background. I was trained as a lab tech in hospitals and I did that work for 15 years. Became a manager very quickly, and then made my first cabinet independently and realized that that's what I wanted to do. So we just walked away from it and started renovating houses, working in New Plymouth, making bespoke furniture mainly for people who were interested. There was a big craft movement in Taranaki and New Zealand at that time in the 70s. And I got involved in restoring antiques, which were my teachers. And I had a very strong sense of the men who made those pieces when I was restoring them, which is kind of weird. They were very good teachers, and they were very disciplined, and they're very particular. So I learned that in a way that was from people who made things by hand and not machines. And I was steered away from the machine approach, and still to this day developing my hand tool skills. And it's interesting that Heather works with her hands in the garden, and I know that Shona has done some bricklaying, who also works with her hands. So I find that's quite interesting. We need that connection with the earth through our hands.
And it's craftsmanship, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Craftsmanship that I call it ancient, because people don't know how to connect with our hands to the earth. Just recently, Shona, was able to see Peter and where he lives. And it was like a deja vu, or a feeling of, I've been there before, because of the handcraft, because of the connection. And I think I took away some wood chip shavings and planted them in my garden.
Yeah.
I was going to give them to the worms, but no, I decided to put them into the garden. Peter, just being with you that short time, and I've known you for quite some time. I mean, there are different aspects about you that I know that the viewers would want to hear. What I find when I think of you or meet you, it may be once every 2 years, or it may be whenever that connection arises, is the simplicity, the humble connection of, I call it mana here in New Zealand, that eye-to-eye contact and respecting another human being. And this is what the summit is all about, isn't it, Shona?
Yeah.
That there is no one above us and no one below us, but all people are all equal, no matter what their journey is. Peter came into my life when I was in no man land, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
If I may share with the viewers, Peter.
Yeah, sure.
You know, if people know my journey, I was a little lost little puppy. I had this innate ability due to a huge trauma in my life that had to do with a near-death experience. So I was out in that little wee place in New Zealand, didn't know what to do, didn't know, just waited on God or the divine or whatever your beliefs are. And Peter happened just to be in that moment that I needed, whether was it anchoring or whatever you want to call it. I mean, these are just all words, but someone recognized me and who I am. And that recognition was enough for me to go, oh, I'm normal. I'm normal. I'm just completely normal, like everybody else that's listening to this video. And there was this honor of acceptance and that eye-to-eye contact. So from there, I just through that meeting made me realize that there was nothing wrong with me in these troubled waters. That there are kind people out there that accept you for your quirkiness or your misfitty thoughts and feelings, and being able to see, because I didn't know anything about, and I will say this, I didn't know anything about spirituality or religion or I was seeking. I was only taking when I was in that coma, in that state of nothingness, and my experiences. So Peter was part of my beginning and will continue always be that beginning, because there's no end.
That's right.
And then I've watched Peter journey. I mean, you've travelled overseas, haven't you, Peter? I think you came back to New Zealand and I met you on your way back to New Plymouth.
Yes, that's right. I was in Hamilton. Right.
You took this journey overseas. And I know that people would love to hear about the journey that you went on.
Wow. That was a bit different. So I was invited. Oh, I should tell you something. Shortly after my wife passed away, I belonged to the local Lions Club, and one of the guys said there to me, never turn down an invitation. It's like, those are such fateful words for me, because I took it on board, and every time I was invited out somewhere, I'd go. And then I was invited to go to Auckland to do a near dance, which is like a form of exercise, which I really enjoy. And one of the people there invited me to go to the States to attend some avatar courses. This is not the movie, this is a separate thing. And so I said yes, and within 10 days I was on my way to the States, to Florida. From there, I was only going to stay there for the course duration, which was 10 days, and then return to New Zealand, not knowing that there was a whole new life there for me. So it's a long story, and it gets quite involved and convoluted because I was guided. I followed my guidance impeccably and ended up living in the mountains of northern Washington State, and then traveling back to Florida for various courses. And I really want to go back there, mainly to upstate New York, where I've met someone who's very important to me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
But the things I saw just traveling with guidance, not just in a very simple way, on trains, planes, buses. I went across the States from one side to the other on a bus a couple of times. And the people I met and the feeling of the land stays with me still.
So it's the land connection, because you mention here in the culture in Taranaki, with the growth of the forests and the waters and the energies, that is what you connect with.
Yeah.
That is what you connect with. So I want to bring up just a little bit more, if I may. I saw you, and I think I attended one of your workshops, because you do workshops online and in the physical, like the shamanic side of things with the drumming. You had a drum there. And because that was my very, 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 very first experience of even that word shamanic and shaman, I didn't know what that was all about. You know, you got me as a baby, Peter. You really did. And it's the shamanic drumming that you used as a tool for exploration, and you brought awareness to the people that were in the room. And I distinctly, that stayed with me for a long time, is that humming, that drumming. And you took us onto a journey through the caves and the wilderness. Well, whatever we chose, actually, wherever we were going.
That's right. They were
It was all about where we were going. It was, and you gave us that independence, I think, and that choice of being able to go wherever we were taken into.
Yeah.
Because I believe, Peter, and I know that's what you taught me, you know, you talk about the realities and of others and dimensions and everything. And it was like that drumming was like a womb listening to your mother's heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I noticed that we were all in different stages of what we were in our lives and what we were needing.
Yeah.
Now, I've met a lot of people over my years since I've known you, but the essence that you brought was completely that connection, the connection of that heartbeat.
Mm.
And I think I attended 2 of your drumming circles, and I know that you have a lot to do, and your affinity is with the men.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm asking you, can you please share your passion, because I know that people want to hear more about this, because it's all about you, Peter. I mean, it's all about you, how and what you give people in your vocation, if you want to call it vocation, into what you teach, into your passion and understanding, and what is missing out here, because this summit is all about bridge over troubled waters. You know, we're closing the gaps. We have been completely separated from our innate ability to be who we are.
Yep.
Can you please share with your whole years of experience, with the viewers, and exactly what is it that you are and what is it that you do, your mana?
I need to go back a little. As I said, I was raised in a very primitive way, but I had a very strong connection with nature around me. Now, when I became involved in laboratories and I was a professional, I was well paid, and we accumulated all the stuff that goes with that. And all the time I knew there was something missing. It's like, it's so good to live in this culture with all its material goods and TVs and everything, but there's something missing. So that's when I started doing my woodwork, because I had that skill with my hands. And it evolved from there. And suddenly I was back in that place where I was happy. So I questioned that, and I started doing research, because I had quite a good library, and then I came back to Plymouth and had an even better one. And I was attracted to mystical type books, but especially to the ones about shamans and shamanism. Joseph Campbell, of course, is a great teacher. So I read his book several times, the one that was available. And then I started branching out from there with my own explorations on how to explore this, going with feelings, finding remedies for in the trees around me for things that were happening to myself. And then we developed skills, all sorts of healing skills for our family, 3 kids. So, and they suffered through through our attempts to keep them healthy and survived, I'm glad to say. And Karen started her own journey with goddess energies, and I made a connection with that, and it was just woven into our lives like a weaving. And so we lived as a modern family with the generally accepted cultural things, but beneath it was all these strange beliefs, which this is the 70s, early 80s. After, what was that called? A resonance of some kind, where the earth actually we became aware that the earth had stepped into a new energy, if you like.
I kind of remember that, because I was that old hippie from Golden Bay, and I remember I was that hippie. I was the one that invented the mung beans and tapping the earth and growing from the earth, practically what I'm doing now. But I do remember that part. Yes, I do. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
it had a feel to it. It's like I couldn't define it, and if you talk to someone about it who was unfamiliar with it, they'd just glaze over. They didn't clue what you were talking about.
the revolution, Shona.
Yeah,
it was a revolution here in New Zealand.
So,
what I love about this is all the freedom of it, the freedom of what you're talking about, and even when
that's right. I took you over to Golden Bay and took you to all the homes I owned. Yeah, that's correct. Yes,
you did. Yeah. But when you were talking about before, Peter, when you were talking about being in science, and yet you had the draw to go to doing your woodwork and everything else. And there's so many people out there that just don't connect with that sense of freedom, and they think they have to be in that sort of space, and they don't flow with those feelings that you did and find something that they're passionate about. And that's what I'm loving to hearing from you, the fact that yes, you've done what everybody else has done, but you've had that freedom enough to say, actually, this is what I want to do, and you've just flowed with it, and that's what I find really exciting.
Yeah, exciting. It's terrifying too at the time.
Yeah.
Like, where's it going to lead? There was no, where's a career? Like, you've got definite steps, and you know you're going to end up here, and then you can apply for another job and expand and get paid more and so on. But I just stepped away from all that possibility, just on feeling. It's kind of crazy, but never mind. I still do it every day. I still do that every day. Yeah.
Well, joyful. You're not knowing what each day is going to bring.
Exciting, yeah, and scary.
So when you felt that new, I don't like calling it new energy, but a new way of being, let's put it that new way of being.
Yeah.
That plonked here, because I think many of us felt it, and it felt a little bit going back to originality, going back to heart,
Yep.
going back to respect, actually respect of the trees and the plants. And what I have found, Peter, this time, I call it this time around, all the thing that I move by hand, like even with the shavings from you, it held a shimmering of hope. It held a DNA because of my background in nursing.
Yeah.
Everything's becoming more pristine, like these are cool, like a call to move from modern to go back into normality. It's not ancient, because ancient doesn't go anywhere.
No.
And everything holds a established vibration. And it's like there's a call gone out for the people of the likes of you, the likes of others, you viewers, and people speak about, what is it that I'm missing? What am I missing?
Mm.
And it's a trumpet. You know, there's a lot of things happening on this earth plane with earthquakes and the sinkholes, and so much is happening in the world. And we can go down the conspiracy theory, because I know mine, but she's able to sustain and take care of herself. And all that call is about is us coming back into normality, not technology. Well, people say that technology is going to take over the world, but hey, what about no, I believe in my heart, possibly I'm that older person, that we're all going to go back into that craftsmanship that you're doing. Peter, there's a question that I was going to put out, and we will do this on the summit, viewers. What would happen if there was no power?
No electric power?
No electric power, no Wi-Fi, no supermarkets, because you lose absolutely everything. Yeah. What is your innate ability and gift? What can you contribute into communities?
I think just straight off, my first response is that a lot of people will have to leave the cities.
Yeah.
Because we're no longer sustainable.
No.
And I just had the sudden vision of one of my older friends, not that I'm old enough anyway, but said, we took a tour through East Taranaki, and he said there used to be 150 people living on this road, and now there are 4. There were whole communities spread right across the land, and I would suspect that that would be the best way to survive, because the first need is food.
Yes.
Being able to grow your own food, as you know, Heather. Food, shelter, and clothing are the 3 basics, and they're mentioned in the Bible, as I understand it. So that's what we need to have as human beings. So, and you can, people can build their own shelters. If it gets warmer, which probably looks like it probably will, our shelters can become simpler. And clothing, at the moment there's plenty of it around, but it won't last very long. So we need to get back into being able to make stuff for ourselves, support our families.
Exactly.
But there will be technologies we can take with us, which will make life a lot simpler than it was 100 years ago. That was brutal. And we don't really want to go back there. And I'm not sure that we can, because we don't have the consciousness for that. Our consciousness has evolved with the technologies that have been introduced. So that would be my way of seeing what's desirable. Alternatively, the cities will have to be closed off in some way. because I actually did on one of the courses I did with Franchelle. We did we sat in a waka shape and we journeyed into the future, and I saw this old man walking around through the reeds and on an estuary and collecting food and what have you, which obviously was me. Oops, are we still connected?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. And there was a domed city, and I could see in the distance, and it was totally protected, totally introverted, and you couldn't get out, and that people from outside couldn't get in, because that was the only way that those people could survive. So it had a bit like H.G. Wells' story with the Morlocks, and I can't remember what the other ones were, like a big division in culture, where the city would dwell as a totally protected within their dome, because they couldn't even breathe the air that was outside, and then all the country people like me in their homespun stuff and wandering around collecting food and just having fun in the sun.
Yeah.
So
There she is, back again.
Sorry about that.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
I think, more people back on the land. And that's interesting, because I've come across a guy in, I think it's Timaru, who makes trugs. Trugs are made from wood, bent wood, and they're actually used traditionally for gardening, for putting your vegetables in like a basket, but it's made of wood. So I've ordered one of these, and I had to, because it's handmade, and it's a useful device, and it's beautiful. And I thought that's exactly the kind of life that we are heading for, some of us anyway.
So I want to get on to, and excuse the interruption, this is a very impromptu with German Shepherds, actually.
Right.
Peter, when I saw you last, I noticed a serenity around you and about you this time. And I said to you that I could see you teaching. Well, you do teach. The availability that you have become, there's a lot of people out there, especially in the conscious living global group, isn't it, Shona? We have a lot of seekers that are missing that. It's like they've split off. They've split off.
Yeah.
But yet they're here, but they're over here because they are the seekers.
Yeah, they're functioning within the culture, but they have other thoughts.
Exactly, and they're screaming out, and we see that, don't we, Shona, daily, constantly. We get these messages, and they're there, but there's this split, the separation. I would like to ask you, Peter, because I believe that we all have an ability and an innate knowing that we are to be of service and to be able to help everybody else.
Yeah.
What would you say to these people that are in search of, well, it's unknown for them, because I've been there myself until I met you, and I know that you don't have to. You said to me, and which has stuck with me all this time, where you are in this moment, it's to be. Whatever is happening, whatever trauma, whatever feeling that you're feeling, whatever emotion that you're feeling, it is meant to be. And that kept me going in my darkest times for all these years. I think it's about 9 years since I met you. What would you say to these people? And actually, no, are you available to see these people?
Yes, of course. It all comes from a question, and having the courage to ask that question and that's where the answers flow from, because was part of my personal learning. Was I couldn't really get anywhere until I started identifying a feeling and questioning it. So what is this? And using the intelligence that I had, and then being able to grow the intuition from there, knowing that there's something there that I need to identify because it's affecting me. And I could see that if I didn't deal with it, I was going to become physically ill. And I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful for the fact that I have a very strong constitution, physical body. And so I've had to, but that can be eroded over a long time. So I've been, I think that was the restlessness, knowing there's something else. I need to start questioning things, questioning everything around me, questioning the culture I live in, why it works, what doesn't work, what people are saying. And I was very judgmental. Working in hospitals, there are just some things that you don't want to desire to experience.
Yes, I know.
As you know. And so saying, well, that's the way they live, or this and that sort of thing, which is, of course, very superficial, very judgmental. Until now I've developed an appreciation of every single living being for what they are, what they experience. And it's all part of who we are as humanity and the Earth community. So, yeah, to start with, it's like, don't accept everything you've been told. Question everything you've been told. If you feel this way, if you feel out of balance, start questioning the way you live. Start questioning things and wait for the answers, not just question after question after question. So you need a little bit of space. I need a space and a quiet time and a bit of patience for those answers to start arriving. And yeah, definitely, there are teachers all around us. We're all teachers for each other. So.
If we listen.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's getting that understanding, because that's one power that I've noticed, Peter and Shona, that people have learnt not to listen. Well, that perception, that ability seems to have gone out the window because of all the busyness that's around us.
Yeah.
So Peter, I just want to touch on, just for a moment, if I may, we spoke about it just recently also too when I saw you, the availability, of course, and now that there's this technical stuff online. Yeah. You actually do teach online. Will you, in your own way? And viewers, I do have his credentials down there because he is reachable if you want to know anything.
Yeah.
Because I will do a little spiel. It's one man that I honour, that has helped me in my journey, and I know that he's helped a lot of people in many people's lives. So people can have access to you. I know they can through our website, but you are available, like say there's a group of men in some part of the world that would just love to be with you in your presence. You're able to do that too?
I think so, yes.
Cool.
Sure.
Because I know that people would love to hear your drums that you have.
Yes, I've got a few.
So on that note, Shona, we're going to stop the interview and the recording because...
I was just going to actually say something just on what we were been talking about, because we were talking about the influx of technology, and actually that's just a tool. Like we were talking about connecting with Peter just now, it's a tool for connection. The network is humanity itself, and it's in coming together in that way through community is also what we're about. And the technology is just a tool to enhance that. It's not the be all and end all. the connection with humanity itself. I think that's the core message that has come out.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Good.
So Peter, I'd like to say thank you for being here, and to Shona, of course, for making this possible for so many people to be able to see these guest speakers on the summit, because it's just, as you see it, what you get. So Peter, I will put all your credentials down, and I'm going to see you on the other side. Shona, I will see you on the other side, and many blessings to absolutely everyone.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Heather, and the same to you and to everyone who's viewed this. And thank you, Shona, for meeting and talking together. It's been great, and also the dogs who.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.